Let's dive into this clay deposit that they talked about because that seems like really piqued my interest. Is they mentioned as a joke to get into mining a while ago, and everyone thought it was ridiculous. And then they actually slipped this in at Battery Day, and the consensus is like, okay, we're basically going to find this clay technology that people have been dabbling with, but no one's really pulled off. But we're going to buy this clay deposit, we add salt, and we just process it and get lithium out in theory, a much easier and cheaper way. And the part that intrigued me is just this idea of localizing production, which you've been mentioning, like not shipping things around the world from a first principles basis allows you a lot more, R&D budget, a lot more automation, a lot more wiggle room on the cost of extraction because the cost of transportation is so low. So I don't know. I as a Tesla investor, I see so many industries where people are like, "Oh, Tesla's not going to do that. They're never going to do that." I think their engineering talent is 10 to 100 times better, not an exaggeration, than every other person or entity trying this lithium extraction. So Tesla's going to fail faster, try harder, and if anyone's going to do it and commercialize this, it's going to be Tesla. So I kind of, but maybe that's a naive approach of just assuming that,
I think that they are going to persevere and they have the capital to do it. But some pretty smart guys have had a crack at this, and again, there's timelines. You have to do permitting, you have to do what have you, because when you're in Nevada, it's a Bureau of Land Management land. You've got to get them to approve it. So in the interim, before they even, take Piedmont spodumene and produce their own hydroxide, say in Austin, or do the clay, there's a good few years window where they are going to have to buy from the Albemarles, the Livents, etc. And there's no way around that. And you're talking 3 terawatt hours, Gali. They need everyone's lithium everywhere. That's an enormous demand just for them. That's bigger than what most of us had forecast for the whole world. So
and
I
what
agree with you. I wouldn't write them off, but it is going to take some doing. And remember, the grades within clay are very low. They're not the same as hard rock or brine, but it is, if you can do the salt extraction, it is a sustainable way of doing it. But it's a question of price. Other guys have had a look at it, and sulfuric acid has been the method of choice. But again, you've also got to think about Tesla is not trying to compete against the industry as the lowest cost producer. They're trying to reduce their cost of lithium and do it themselves. And I think some people get it a little bit wrong. They're not going to do it for $4,000 a ton or what have you, but if they can do it for 8 or 9, that's still cheaper than what they're going to pay.
Wow, fascinating. And so, do you think these, in that interim period, it feels like those suppliers have been able to expand with Tesla thus far, and I would assume they're a lot more bought in with Tesla than they were when they started that relationship, so they're more willing to go ahead and spend capex up front. I wonder what's your kind of status on the Albemarle's of the world's
So
relationship
Albemarle's
with Tesla?
already, they've said they're going to be flat production next year, and Livent is looking the same. They're not happy with the reinvestment rate. So they are going to hold back material, in my opinion, and we're going to see a price move until the price gets to the levels that they need. And
Wow,
it's a
because they're
tough
like,
one.
you guys were, it was too low, so they're gonna artificially restrict and pop the price as kind of a
Well, it's not
negotiation
artificial.
chess move.
You have a finite set of resource. If you sell it at uneconomic terms, then you become, you're not going to
Yeah.
go anywhere. They need to make a reinvestment economics, and they keep mentioning that. Albemarle mentioned it in their earnings call, and so did Livent, because Livent made 1 million. I think they made 1 million either negative or positive EBITDA for the last quarter. That's it. You can't build plants making that kind of money or not making that kind of money.
So it sounds like I'm trying to read in between the lines on what happens next. Like it sounds like you're almost saying there's like beef between
There is
these lit.
beef, in
Yeah.
my opinion,
So how?
definitely.
Yeah.
But it's understandable because someone's got to, the profit's got to sit with someone, and obviously OEMs are trying to make EVs profitable. Tesla is in a better position, and they understand if they can keep making cheaper vehicles and undercutting, they are the gorilla in the room. They're going to have a massive market share. So, the lithium companies are saying, if you want me to supply you in 2022 or 2023 and onwards and grow my production, you've got to give me enough money to spend. Otherwise, it doesn't work. Shareholders aren't going to approve it.
But wouldn't Tesla be a lot more willing than like GM to give them like a billion to spend because they have a million EV program versus GM who doesn't? So
Well,
so why is
this
it, you
is
know what I mean?
where
Like
it
why
gets
isn't Albemarle
interesting,
expanding just with Tesla? Screw everyone else, right? Like
because Tesla's got to pay them the reinvestment price, and the reinvestment price is not what Tesla wants to pay.
interesting. And how much of this is public? How much of this is you reading between the lines?
It's us reading between the lines, but in a market, in an EV market that's going to grow from 2.5 million this year or 2.4 to 4 million next year, and Albemarle's not expanding production, and neither is Livent. So they're telling you where they're at. They're not going to sell at poor economics because it's not going to work and shareholders won't support it. So I'm saying Tesla can get to the point of producing its own material, but it's never going to produce even a fraction of what it needs. So it needs the industry to grow. There are opportunities like direct lithium extraction and things like that, new techniques, the same that salt and clay would be, that hold opportunities. But the economics of those projects are still the same, that you need a fairly elevated price. And in our opinion, incentive pricing is $12,000 a ton or more. And in South Korea and Japan, that's kind of where the price is at. And I think that'll be where the price will be at next year. And then as we get to the middle of next year, and if Tesla sells all these cars, there are a lot of battery plants, as you know, about to be built by Tesla and in Europe, enormous amount of plants, and China. So there are going to be an enormous amount of competitive forces. I don't know, if we sell 3.75 to 4 million EVs, where are we going to in 2022? I don't know, 5 or 6, maybe 50%, maybe not quite that much, 5.5. We're at 2.5 now. Do the maths on the raw materials. You can't have guys producing flat. That doesn't work.